everybody. Welcome to Mad Workspace. I'm Becky Berry. This is Leah Merriweather and Stefanie Diaz, and we work together here in this co-working space. We wanted to give you a little slice of life this morning, how we work together and brainstorm and some of the topics we talk about. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to start with talking about the power of intention, because there are intentional people in this world, and then there are the three of us who put our intentions out there in the world, and even when we forget to do some of the work, we make those intentions happen, and this workspace is my intention. It's really important to me to have people around when I work. So Leah and Stefanie and I shared this little tiny office one time, and I just knew the three of us would be magic together. So here we are. Somebody else?
Yeah. Well, I feel like, I'm really... Thank you, Becky, for kind of setting this up and setting it up for us to do this live, because this is how we have navigated our personal and professional lives for several years now. This is going into our third year being this unit, which we never, it just happened that we were together and this tribe formed. And we have different conversations than I ever had, with women in the past. And we're just always supporting each other, and intention is a huge part, because we understand that there are so many dynamics at play in our journey. And with each of us has a different perspective on how do you navigate that? How do you leverage that? Yes. And so we always come together, and that's been our kind of little secret sauce.
Yeah, amen.
And but it's really shown in big ways in our lives, and now we're just going to kind of share it out for some other people to kind of take a look and know that this workspace is a place where they can join in that conversation
exactly.
too.
And hello, this is take 3 today. Stefanie, I've already talked on the phone this morning. Mm-hmm. We ended up in the parking lot. I pull in and we're talking to each other on the phone.
She's already in the car. Yeah.
And then we adjourn to Leah's office, and the three of us talk.
Yeah.
So,
And about deep stuff.
Yes. And for me, it's having, Stefanie mentioned that tribe. It's about having people you feel safe to talk to and to share those deeper conversations. Because one of the things that I've realized over the years through entrepreneurship and how we work is that it's not work over here and life over here. It's wholeness. Mm-hmm. And when you can come to a space and be able to speak to that, talk about your personal issues, because they show up and reflect in how you work.
Right?
And so when you have people who align with that, and they get that, and they know what that's like, man, it's powerful. I mean, you can't say no to it.
Right. Right. It's inevitable.
Yeah,
it's
inevitable. Absolutely.
Well, it just occurred to me that we didn't say what we all do.
Oh, yeah.
And it's real important, because it's real different.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's real different. So I'm a career coach, and I own this space.
Executive coach.
I'm an executive coach. Okay, that's
Absolutely.
Intentional right there,
Right.
because I'm rebranding, because I am an executive coach, and so that's what I do.
Yeah.
Leah.
And I'm the founder of Yoga from Scratch. So I am your yoga, mindfulness, and meditation coach. Stefanie?
What do I do?
What are you doing today?
Where do you start?
Okay, I'm an investor relations strategist. I'm the founder of Powered by Verb, which is an investor relations firm. So I help entrepreneurs raise capital for their companies to scale, and I help investors connect to the best deal flow.
Listen to her pitch.
Yeah, I know. I like
that.
that.
We're working on it for good.
I'm taking notes.
I'm also the founder of WOA, the Women Only Experience. It's an Atlanta-based organization for unstoppable women, and that keeps me pretty busy.
Yeah.
Yes, and I'm a coach for women as well.
Yeah. And speaking of intention, what's so powerful about our transition and our collection here is that we've seen each other transition through multiple phases. Again, not only professionally, but personally, because it's wholeness. It's the whole gamut of how we live.
I love it. And I think one of the things that's important to all three of us is that we, they both use the word tribe. I rarely use that word, but it's so true, is we're intentional about who we're around.
Yes.
We're intentional about the vibration we put out there to attract the right people to us. And we've had some really good examples of that in the last 2 weeks as we've done the grand opening of Mad Workspace, where we had a woman come in who analyzes dreams and is a dream coach, is super excited. I signed up for a workshop. So, that intention that this space is going to be a place that's safe for women to be their whole selves is the core.
I just want to say something along with that. You mentioned being really mindful of your vibration, and that's a huge part of it. But I think that sometimes people can mistake that to mean like we're just happy all the time.
Right in this room I had a gigantic meltdown.
This morning when Becky and I were on the phone and then later in Leah's office, I was crying. So, it's also about the safe space to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Because the more that when you set those intentions and then you realize, wow, this thing that maybe I set an intention, but I thought that was like 5 years, that was in my 5-year plan, and then you're in it and you're so scared because you had it in the 5-year plan because you thought you had to do all these things to get ready for it. And now it's here and you don't feel ready, and all of these like fears are coming up, and you have to work through them, and that's the vibration, where you want to go, but you also are doing the work along the way, and having a safe place where no one is judging you, and even if you make a mistake, because we do, they're still ready to help you get where you want to go. That's a huge part of it too.
Well, the fact that we're sitting in this room is because something happened that I wasn't ready for.
Yeah.
Yes.
My landlord said, Becky, I really want you to have this other space. And I really wanted the space because I knew I could only grow the co-working if I had the space. And I had to leap. And I didn't know how I was going to pay for it. But I just was intentional about it. And, it's all worked out. And what I find is when I set the intention, like this space has been an intention of mine for 5.5, maybe 6 years.
Since we met, I know for sure.
Well, actually, one day my therapist asked, what do you see, when you see your future? And I said, I see I'm in a room full of women at desks. Well, it ends up it's going to be a building full.
Yes.
And I had no idea what it was.
Yeah.
It was before co-working was on anybody's radar.
Yeah.
But here it comes. Because when you make an intention, right, and then you just kind of note it and go, and don't like lock into it.
Yeah.
I feel like it can flow and it can come, and I met Stefanie, and then I met Leah, and the other thing about, we were talking about all the phases of our lives, so let's dig into this a little bit about the intention. Is I did my first tech startup in 1985. And I met Stefanie doing tech networking, right? So there's that piece of me. I still do startup coaching sometimes if you're really sweet and ask me really kindly. But that's a piece of my life that I don't talk about. I've said for years I'm not a coder. I'm a really good coder. I just don't like to do it, right? And then Leah, you have a similar journey of doing different things that brought you to the yoga.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so I'm an engineer by trade. So I graduated, from Wayne State University in Detroit with an engineering degree.
Detroit.
Right. Yeah.
Represent.
So I practiced for 10 years, actually, before leaving the industry full-time to work on my e-commerce business, which was really, really growing at the time.
And was that in, like, you saw e-commerce and you said, this is a way out of engineering?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've
heard you talk about how engineering is not a fit.
Yeah, it just was not a fit. Not at that time.
Well, not in that way.
No, not in that way either.
I find a lot of times it's the way we're having to do it that's not the fit.
Absolutely. I felt stuck. I felt, and then it really pulls on, like, your growth in that field. Is about licensing and all that. And it wasn't delicious enough for me to get licensed and do all of that. It was
delicious and licensed. Okay,
Right.
Like no,
right.
no, that doesn't even go
So
together.
it wasn't. So I got a computer for my birthday, and I had a conversation with her, and I said, we are going to make some money. I don't know how. So in that moment, I set that intention. Yeah, so I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know. This was before, having a website was a thing. This was like back in back in 2004, and it was earlier than that. And I had like literally one of the very first e-commerce stores out there. You guys want to know what I sold?
Yeah, I want to know what you sold.
Air guns.
Shut the front door.
I
did. Passion.
Exactly. I sold air guns. So I was in real estate as well. So I created an ebook. I'm talking back in the day, y'all. That it was 10 days to eviction, or 10dayevictions.com. That was my ebook. And I had
air guns, evictions.
Yeah, there you go.
We're getting our alignment straight here.
Right, exactly.
Oh my God.
So I, because I had a lot of real estate and I knew how to get people out of the property in 10 days. So, so I created an ebook. I sold a couple of ebooks, and then someone said, well, this might not work in every county, so you better pull it. And I pulled it, and I'm thinking, now, why did I listen to that person? You know what I'm saying?
Raise your hand if you've ever done that.
Yeah.
Why am I listening to that?
Right, exactly. So, but the whole point is, I set an intention, and after that, action followed. So, even when you set an intention, you must follow inspire action in order to manifest what it is that you want. It's kind of like we're setting intentions all throughout the day. So, if I want to turn on that light over there, it starts with an intention first.
Right.
And then I have to do some action. I got to get up, go over there, and turn on the light, and there's the manifestation.
Or sometimes Becky might walk by and just flip it on. You're like, what
right,
else do
exactly.
Give me that.
Or if you have the clapper, there you go.
But you said, but the gold in what you just said was something back. I didn't know how it was going to work.
Yeah.
So my word, and these two women will laugh when I say this because they know how hard this is for me. Surrender.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
I don't surrender easily.
Yeah.
I practice it a lot. But when you set that intention, if you load it with shoulds, if you load it with it must be, or they said to pull the book or whatever, instead of going, here's my intention, I'm going to do something, okay, right?
Right.
You will never hear the three of us say the next right thing. Because there are 162 next right things, right?
Yeah. So I just thought of something, and I've never thought of manifesting in this way ever before.
And this is how it works, people.
But so as I look back on my career, especially the evolution of my career in the last 5 years, it's been really, really fast. And I look at, going from one step to another as, okay, so I was in the flow with this, and then I had this idea, the intention, and I put it on that okay, I'm going to get to that next year, 3 years, which is believing in it, but it's also not loading it with a whole lot of stuff. It's and I just let it go.
Yeah.
It'll happen.
Yeah.
And then I find myself there in 6 months later.
Yeah.
6 months later,
Right.
I'm doing that thing, and I'm like, whoa, and then you have to reacclimate and everything. But I think it's a powerful testimony to you set an intention, and then you don't get all wrapped up in the trying to make it happen. You set the intention, and you really let it go.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's surrender.
And that is
just
surrender
it to the
and
universe.
And
trusting.
and I
surrender is
guess for
trust.
me,
It is.
I guess for me, the only way that I got to be careful with my words. Right?
Yes, exactly.
The best way is to be planning those far off things and then allow them to come. I'm still mastering those things I want to manifest in the next 7 days.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to do because there's this thing. This is our conversation this morning. We're going to go to that because as we set our intentions, we go, who are we to set this intention?
Yeah.
Right? This whole imposter syndrome thing comes up. And let me just say, as a career coach for women, y'all, an executive, as an executive coach, I can't even tell you, or executive coach, I can't even tell you how many times we come across this imposter syndrome. But when Stefanie and I were talking this morning, I finally realized that it's part of the human condition. Okay? And it is particularly part of the human condition when what we're doing, what that intention we set, is gigantic.
Yes.
And y'all, it doesn't mean gigantic billions of dollars.
Yeah,
it means gigantic in the movement we show in like and then committing to that change.
And the change that it brings.
So of course we're going to think, who am I to do this and who am I to do that, right? And then we get those voices in our head. You ready? I'm going to drop it right now. Okay, everywhere in our office, every coaching session, every client of mine gets this. I read this book called The Confidence Code by Katty Kay and Claire Shipman.
If you haven't read
Love
it.
it. You have to get it. You have to get it. And I read this quote. It is a drop mic quote. I dropped the book and I started laughing. Confidence occurs when the insidious self-perception that you aren't able is trumped by the stark reality of your achievements.
Yeah.
And
I just got chills.
Right?
And I've heard that quote so many times. But I still get chills.
That insidious, this is what happened this morning.
Yes.
Yeah.
This insidious is snake-like. That's the definition of insidious. And this little snake gets in your head going, I'm not good enough. Some of us manifest it in different ways than others. You can tell, but I'm not telling how you manifest it. But, you know, it gets in our head. And that's where the imposter syndrome comes from.
Yeah.
But what I do with my clients, what we do for each other is that stark reality of your achievements, y'all. That's not like the idea of your achievements.
Yeah, right.
It's not the feeling of your achievements.
Yeah.
It is the stark reality of your achievements. That's some powerful stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I recite it. Well, I recite it to myself. These two will go, oh, you're already doing it. Not sure what you're talking about.
And I think that's really important to know because there's so many times, like when you can't see it for yourself, you can't see it for yourself.
Hello.
You have to have the people that show it to you. You have to. And so that just makes, the people that you're around that much more important because what do they want to show you when you're feeling a bit down and insidious? Some people, some people want to say, yeah, you're right, and kind of kick you in that moment to keep you there. And then there's others that are like, get out of there now, and like, come back to the light, and who you're around is so important, so important.
It is absolutely. And the thing too, also as you were talking about who you're around, what came to me with the reality is the space. Like, I feel like what we are creating is holding so much space for people. And that's part of the fear. Like, feeling that abundant space and feeling like, oh, this space I'm creating, do I fit into this space? And it's like, it's like, of course you do. You're creating it. You're holding the space for all these people.
And I get
all these ideas.
Right, and I get to manifest that. Like when I have a client in front of me, I get to watch that shift, and it can be pretty fast because, I'm the oldest of the three. I know you're surprised at that, but I've spent a lot of time learning, not even learning to do that, just growing into my natural ability to do this. And it's super fun. To hold. I was a special ed teacher. I realized now I was holding space for my kids to walk in the room. And even though they never met me before, they trusted me because they were like, "Come on, you're amazing.
You see the best in them.
Come in." And absolutely. That's there are days when we can't see that. And when having somebody else around you is everything.
Absolutely.
Everything.
Absolutely. I remember when you were around Gabe for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
Gabriel is my 10-year-old son. He was just loving you.
Yeah.
It was like an immediate connection, and I'm like, this woman,
Mm-hmm.
I just love her.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Same here. Same here.
Thank you. Well, I love people. You know, I love people, and this is how I get to manifest it. This piece,
Yeah.
right? This piece. There's all the things I've done. This is my 7th career, so these are all the things I've done. But it keeps getting tighter and tighter and more centered around the people.
Yeah.
Centered around holding space, creating space. I guess I've like physically created the space
Community builder.
for you.
Yep.
Well, I
And
was
the right people.
right. I was put on the earth to build community. I did
Yeah.
a big old thing on that a long time ago.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. So the power of intention.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that this is the first of several conversations we'll have, because what the three of us do together.
Conversations all the time. Is just how
Yes.
often we
Sit
live
down.
stream them.
You're
Yes,
right.
yes.
But the power that the three of us bring, and the support, and the different ways of approaching things
Mm-hmm.
are why it was so important to me to have the three of us together and to go forward. So we're not quite Jada Pinkett Smith, but maybe I'll get us an orange table instead of a red table. But I think that wraps it for today.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned. If you haven't already liked Mad Workspace, please go do that. Stefanie is Stefanie Diaz on Facebook. Give us all your social. We'll do all the things.
At the Stefanie Diaz, Stefanie with an F on all of the platforms.
Right. I'm at Becky Berry Coach everywhere on the planet Earth.
Mm-hmm. I'm at Leah Merriweather.
Cool. All right, and we'll put all of that in the notes. So I'm used to doing a podcast.
Yeah.
I also have 2 podcasts. Stefanie has a podcast.
I do. It's a YouTube channel called She Conquers Capital, where I'm interviewing women who have closed rounds of capital for their company and female investors as well. Weekly episodes there, so check it out.
And my 2 are Uniquely Brilliant and She's Not Done Yet. One episode of She's Not Done Yet is up. I've got some more
She's
coming.
not done yet.
Yeah, she's not done yet.
I'm
She
not
keeps
done
going.
yet.
This woman keeps going. Okay.
Well, it's conversations with women over 50 who aren't done
Right.
yet.
Right.
All right, so we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bottom.
Bottom right.
Finish.